Hey everyone, this is kind of a different video. Some of you may not care about this, most of you probably won't care about this, but I needed a place for this video to live. My name is Adam, and in my day job, I work in marketing. And I work in marketing for a university in California in the United States. I have been playing a lot of the game Pokopia recently, and I have been building a replicate of our college campus in this video game. And I just wanted to show off some of the cool campus landmarks and things that I've built. Um, so yeah, most of you won't care. But in a nutshell, let me explain what Pokopia is to give you context for how difficult some of these things might be to accomplish. Pokopia is a Pokemon video game, but it is not a battler game. There's no combat, there's no fighting. Instead, it is a cozy game. It's a game where you just kind of make friends with the Pokemon and then you build. There's a lot of building and decorating components. In the game Pokopia, you play as a Pokemon called Ditto, which in all the other Pokemon games is a kind of creature that can mimic, imitate, transform into other creatures and get their abilities. And so this is the way for the game to allow you to fly, to allow you to spit water and grow leaves and do things, is by your character becoming other Pokemon. So after you finish the game, there are a lot of things that you can build. And you've gathered all these ingredients and you've gathered all these items. And I started to think about how could I put those into a city, essentially, that is a duplicate of the University of California, Riverside. So I started to build. And so today I'm going to take you on a tour of this campus and show you kind of examples of what the real thing looks like, show you what I built, how I built it, some behind the scenes, here's how this works. And hopefully this is interesting to some of you. So let's start our tour.
All right, so I'm going to kind of walk you through a tour of everything at UC Riverside. Um, this starts us at the campus flagpole. This is where I walk into campus every day, so this is very familiar to me. So I wanted to kind of start somewhere central and build out from there. This is Hinderaker Hall. Underneath Hinderaker, I built this storage kind of place where I could build things I needed, store items, supplies, things like that, so that I could easily just kind of go down, grab something, and then pop back up here to where we were starting to build. So we kind of zoom out, we see kind of this is where our center was for this build, and you can kind of see everything that we would build out.
Now you're going to notice right here is the first time it happens that you see some blank spots because this was exhausting. And so there are areas of the campus that I did not build. So I don't really know if I intend to because it is difficult at this point in the game. Resources are finite. And so it is difficult to build every building because getting things like stone and bricks, it is a game. It takes time. You got to grind. And it is getting more and more difficult to get those resources. It is getting more difficult to build all the decorations for every building. So there are some areas that are just nothing that you see kind of where the world ends. There are going to be buildings that are just missing, but you'll kind of see the architecture of where they should have been, or you'll see a faint outline in the distance, and that's all I did. So really, I'm just going to focus on the things that I did build and do want to show off, not the things that I did not do.
All right, so we're back at Hinderaker. Another thing that people that play the game will know is that you need a Pokemon Center. And so this is where I hid the Poke Center inside of Hinderaker Hall. But if you walk out, you have Ivan's, which is a little coffee shop. So I have people working there. You can come outside, sit in the chairs, kind of get a look at Hinderaker here. Again, next to the flag. Next to that is Humanities. So we can walk into this little courtyard. There's kind of a directory map. There is not an orange statue in the game, but we have another statue I put in its place. You can walk through here, kind of get a exterior look at Humanities. The scale of things is definitely different. So these rooms, buildings are not as big as they really are. There may be not as many floors as they really are, but I did my best to actually put interiors here, put classrooms. Across from Humanities, we have the Student Success Center, one of the campus's newest buildings. This is kind of how most people walking into campus from the flagpole would walk along this route. And so we are going to go in and see the Student Success Center. Um, all these buildings are not exactly what they look like on the inside, but they are the spirit of what they are on the inside, right? And so this building is a place to lounge, a place to study. And so we have kind of screens and refreshments and, places for people to set up and do their homework, whiteboards for kind of group study projects. And then this third floor view is just incredible. And so I tried to replicate that looking out at the bell tower here. So we're going to leave the Student Success Center. Next to that, oh, we have this little walkway. Forgot about this. This is kind of a cool little walkway between interdisciplinary and the Student Success Center. So these are kind of classrooms. I'm picking a photo here of the Native American garden to put up on the screen. But all these rooms, I tried to put stuff inside, so the Pokemon would actually go and use them. So this is interdisciplinary. Again, not as tall as it really is. I think it's 3 floors. I only put 2. And here on the left, you see what was going to be athletics, just ran out of time and effort. So here we are at the Student Services Building. We have kind of a mural on the wall. We have a little courtyard for sitting. We go in, and there's a room that Campus Tours uses for presentations. We have the Highlander One Stop Shop. If we go upstairs, again, this is the spirit of what these buildings are, that we have kind of lounge space, office space, where people are working. Up on the 3rd floor is where I tend to work. And so I kind of put a little workspace for me and my laptop to replicate, my 8 to 5 job. Leaving that building, we have Costo Hall, which is where all of our kind of student resource centers are. Again, not as many of them as there really are, but it's the spirit of on the inside. There's places for people to hang out, TVs, places to sit, the spirit of Costo Hall. If we were to keep walking, we kind of go into the Highlander Union building, and one of the first things on the right is the transfer lounge, which a lot of people, stop, get a drink. I'm going to get some fresh water right here. Ooh, I got a bonus one. So my little guy's excited about that. There are places for kind of banners and posters, things that are going on around campus, and you can go in to the dining area. So we're going to walk in. There's a couple different restaurants, things like that. There's a Panda Express there. And then there's just lots of places for people to sit. Again, not as big as in real life, but it's, the spirit of this space and just places to sit. This is up on the 2nd floor now. I did include restrooms. I did include my favorite ominous hallway that connects to the back of the building. Again, nothing over there. Ignore the large ocean. There is not really anything there. So we are now kind of going into some offices, trying to replicate what this floor of the building is like. We're going to go up to the 3rd floor now, up this big staircase. The 3rd floor has a big kind of common area on the center and then a big ballroom on the right. So we're going to go into the ballroom, and this is kind of where, speakers and events happen. And so I just try to put in a little room to show off what happens there. But if we're gonna go down the walkway here, there's offices, there's another lounge, there's a fireplace, and then there's this big kind of fishbowl atrium that I put in here. That is cool from the inside. You get a good view of everything out. But then from the outside looking in, it kind of has this cool, mostly glass look. In real life, it's more circular. You can't really do that. Everything has to be 90-degree angles in this game. This is now a look at the ceilings or the roofs of these buildings. That this is where I hid a lot of Wi-Fi and a lot of power, things that the game needs. So we're back now into kind of the hub plaza where people sit and they eat. Just take a moment to enjoy a cup of Joe. You see some Pokemon in the background running around. They kind of do their own things. Up here we have a coffee bean and we have a Habit burger. So we're going to go into the Habit real quick. Again, a place to eat, sit, talk, play games. Tried to replicate that here with the Native American garden right outside. We are going to walk kind of back to the center of the hub, look out over this bridge. There's a lot to see here. The hub took a lot of time and effort to make all these different little pathways and the elevation. I'm not even going to go into how difficult it was for all the different, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. How tall does that need to be? The letters were difficult to figure out. So I think this turned out pretty cool. We now get to the centerpiece of the campus, which is the bell tower. And you can kind of see everything in the distance. The right side is very fleshed out. all the buildings I did work on, the left side is where I started to get burnt out and say I just don't have the time or resources to build every single building. But there is a big open field where we do our concerts at. So I built a stage here. The stage is a pre-built thing that the game gives you just to plop down. And so I plopped it down right here to signify, Block Party, Spring Splash, our biggest concerts. That's where they happen. Going the other direction past the bell tower, we get to the Rivera Arches and the Rivera Library. Again, things have to be angled, and so they're not quite the arches that you'd expect, but I think they turned out pretty cool. Put some ivy kind of on them. And we start to go in towards the library. There's a way to look down at kind of a basement level. But we go into the library, and it's again the spirit of it, right? There's books, there's places to study, there's tables. Just put a bunch of that stuff in here. And then if we go out, there is a cool little kind of enclosed little gardeny space that I included. Now, this is Pierce Lawn. This is a huge lawn with lots of buildings, and this is really where it started to hit me that I was like, I can't do this. So I just put in kind of the facades of buildings and built a big mountain in the background. This is also part of what was so tricky is that you had to run power through this whole thing so everything worked, and these are power transmitters that were underneath everything you saw. So it was a lot of work. Hopefully you thought this was cool. If you go or have been to UCR, hopefully you enjoyed this.
And that is it for our tour. I put a lot of work into that. I know it's unfinished, but thank you for watching. Hopefully you thought this was cool. Hopefully you thought this was interesting. And maybe this motivates some of you to check out Pokopia and see if there's things you can build on your own. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.